So welcome everybody to the Overthrow from the Premier League Cricket Club, and once again brought to you by our friends at Spond. As you know, we love talking about all things cricket with people who are in and around cricket, and not necessarily about the runs and not necessarily about the wickets. But in this case today, we're going to talk about the games, because joining us today, our guest, he's now played 350 consecutive first-team games for a Lancashire League Premier League club. We're struggling to find anybody who might have done quite that. And what we find even more remarkable is he's a wicket-keeper. And we know that wicket-keepers might pick up an injury or two along the way. It does happen, to say the least. But joining us today is player number 478 from Lowerhouse Cricket Club, Mr. Joseph. Joe Martin, how you doing, bud?
I'm all right, thank you. Hello, nice to meet you, and great to be on. I really appreciate it.
Absolute
Very kind of
pleasure,
you.
mate. Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I've got to start by saying, you've got almost 100 victims more than anybody else in the play cricket era in the Lancashire League. Now we
Oh,
know
really?
there's the
All right,
we know
okay,
we know there's the
right.
pre-play cricket era and all that type of stuff,
Yeah,
but
sure.
that just goes with the longevity of the amount of games, doesn't it?
I think, yeah, I think so. I mean, we'll probably talk about the games and stuff a bit later, but um, it's, I think it probably goes with the territory. If you play that many games, you're going to pick up quite a few victims. I mean,
Yeah.
if you ask my brother, I probably dropped 200 or 300 more than everybody else as well. So,
Ooh.
uh, so I think it'll probably cover both sides of that wicket keeping career.
Hey, you ain't done bad at all, mate. Got to ask the obvious question. Is there a secret to that longevity? Have you been, in your opinion, lucky with injuries, or have you been stupid and played with broken fingers and dodgy this and dodgy that?
I mean, it's a mixture of both. I think I have been lucky. I've never done anything that's that serious that you think you wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah.
I think probably the worst one wasn't even a wicket keeping injury. It was batting when I used to bat a
Hmm.
few years ago.
Yeah.
Um, I got hit batting. I think broke my knuckle and finger. I couldn't move my hand for the rest of the game, but
Right.
sort of strapped it up and played the week after
Yeah.
of the rest of the season. And now I've got a bit of a claw that I try and operate with. So that was
Yeah.
probably the on the side of daft rather than like sensible, I think. But yeah, I think you you do your best. I try and keep myself pretty fit
Hmm.
and um and see where and see where I get and being still being picked, I guess. So I'll just
You're
keep
well and
going until
truly
you
being
tell me not
picked.
to.
Yeah, well and truly being picked. I mean, for Lower House itself on its own, you're now, from what I can see on the records there, and as always, thanks to Mr. Adam Hope, you're about 30 victims short of Brian Higgin for the Lower House record, I believe. Now, bearing in mind, he played for 34 years, according to the records. You've done it a bit quicker.
Yeah, a little. I think so. I mean, I've I've benefited from playing in some brilliant teams with
Hmm.
brilliant players and brilliant professionals. I think since I started in
Yeah.
2009,
Mhm.
2010. And so with that, you often, I think, probably get a few more chances than Higgy did.
Hmm.
And I think wicket keeping is probably a little bit different as well. I think Higgy probably spent the majority of his time stood back
Yeah.
to, fast bowlers, some of the fastest bowlers in the world at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I've spent the majority of my time stood up, and
Hmm.
you're naturally probably more likely to get few more stumpings, maybe a few more chances up to the stumps.
Hmm.
Um, so and he also got like nearly 9,000 runs, I think. So he's he could do both. But yeah, I think I've probably got I probably got I think it's nearly close to 500 now or something. I'm not quite sure. I genuinely don't follow it. But Adam was telling me the other week, I think. I've probably done that a little bit quicker than I expected to do,
Yeah.
but there's also some really great wicket keepers in the league currently and in the past who've got, brilliant, equally brilliant records.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a product of luck rather than anything else, I think.
I think it's more than just luck. I think you've got to be lucky, you've got to be in the right place, 100%. But I think you also then look what's around you as a team. And if you've got the right bowlers, if you've got the right pros, as you say, if the batters have put the team in the right place in the first place, that you can actually then go and attack the way you do. And you'll
Yeah.
stand up to people now that people back in the day wouldn't have stood up to, for example. They're the differences, I think, that make a big difference, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the other thing is we benefit from playing on much better pitches, covered pitches where the
Hmm.
bounce is a little bit truer than it was. So yeah, I'm not saying it's easy to do that, but at the same time, you can trust yourself in
Yeah.
standing up to the stumps even against some of the quicker bowlers.
Hmm.
Um, and some of the pros that we've had where I've stood up have been sharp. And
Yeah.
if you were playing on uncovered wickets 40 years ago, you'd probably be hitting your face rather than in the
Hmm.
middle of your gloves. So you can,
Yeah.
you do benefit from that. But I think it's a full kind of spectrum of things that kind of
Sure.
contribute to the victims that I've got, and
Yeah.
some
Most
stick and
definitely.
some don't. So
Let's go back to the very beginning. You're a lower house man through and through.
mm.
Was it always wicket keeping for you?
No, not quite. If you were to meet me now, you'd think I'm incredibly small for a person. Uh, I don't think I was that short when I was like 9 or 10 or whatever. I just think I was like normal size. I just never happened to grow. So I think I started when I was 7 or 8 in the under 11s at Lowerhouse. My brother played when he was 7,
Hmm.
and you come down. He used to come down with my granddad to the ground, and my mum
Yeah.
was still cuts the grass on the surrounds now. And I was batting, bowling, try and bowl as fast as I could, try and bowl people out,
Yeah.
bounce them out. Obviously, I couldn't as someone who was like 2'5" or whatever. And I bat properly. So I'd say at the start I was more of a batter who could bowl.
Hmm.
Um, and that was true until I was 11. And then I got asked to play in a senior game. So at Lowerhouse, we used to almost like loan players to local Ribblesdale League clubs to
Yeah.
get a bit of senior experience. So I ended up being asked to play for the Burnley Grammar School All Boys, and asked if I could wicket keep, and I said
Hmm.
yeah, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. And in that game, I took a catch off a quite a big nick, and then from that very moment, that was wicket keeping. That was it. And there's
Wow.
never been like a greater feeling. And I still tell people now that in a sporting world, taking that catch or taking a catch off a nick, stood up, stood
Yeah.
back, I'm not that bothered. And it's still, I get extremely excited about it now. It's still great,
Absolutely.
still a
So
great
the
feeling.
so the real irony is your first ever catch as a wicket keeper wasn't for Lower House, and it was
Yeah,
for
that's true.
and it was for a club with the name Burnley in it as well, which makes it
Yeah, I
even
know.
funnier.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's yeah, it's quite funny, really. I mean, because a lot of if you were to look at the Lower House team, probably from like 2010, 2011, all of the young players that came in at that time as that kind of group of players
Yeah.
that ended up winning quite a few things, all played for Burnley Grammar School All Boys or Burnley Belvedere,
Hmm.
again to get that kind of senior experience that you
Uh-huh.
don't that you can't get now because of the restrictions on age and so on.
Yeah.
So it made you quite resilient because you were playing against men who
Hmm.
you know didn't care that you were a kid, and they
Yeah.
try and hit you on the head, and they wouldn't hold back, and so
I remember
it
those days well.
yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. So it really gave us a good standing in as we sort of progressed through.
Hmm.
And you couldn't hit sixes or fours. Still can't really hit sixes. And as my batting careers continue, I still can't, starting not to be able to hit fours either. But it really meant that you could apply yourself, you'd learn,
Hmm.
and that's where it started. Alongside all the great coaching that we got at
Yeah.
Lowerhouse from
Hmm.
Dan and Heaton and Nigel Brown, and that's that's where we started.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You were 16 when you made your first 11 debut, and by 17
15,
were
16, yeah, that's right.
effectively the first team keeper by 17. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that, even by your own thought process then? Quite a surprise that it went so quick.
Yeah, I mean it was again, it's often about being in the right place at the right time. So at the time, probably 2009, we had Jack McGregor, who was
Hmm.
the first team wicket keeper. He played for England under 16s or 19s or so on. Fantastic wicket keeper,
Yeah.
brilliant. If you were to watch him, it was unbelievable. Stood up to the stumps. He was quite tall. He'd be 6 foot plus, but brilliant hands, fast, able to keep to anybody. He broke his thumb, I think, or finger that year, which meant I played a few games in 2009,
Right.
and then went back into the seconds and so on, and then uh, and then moved in 2010. I'm not sure. I can't quite remember where he went to,
Hmm.
but it was uh, it's out of the Lancashire League, um, and so the club had a decision to make. I guess you could either try and get a more experienced person
Yeah.
in, or let's see let's see how I can get on. And
Throw them in. Oh, if you're good enough,
yeah,
full stop.
yeah, I think so. And I think in that first season, I did some I did some good things and some things that probably weren't so great.
Sure.
You'd make mistakes and so on. Um, but I can remember the first game of the 2010 season. They had Andre Agathagalu Rishton as pro. I think he
Hmm.
ended up playing for Lancs for a few seasons after
Rings a
that.
bell, yeah.
Yeah, and Jonathan Finch, who was a fantastic all-rounder for
Uh-huh.
Lowerhouse, um, bowled him a kind of leg spinner, leg flutter kind of, and
Sure.
he came down the track and missed it, stumping, and
Hmm.
and that was that. I was on my way, I think, and then that was and then from that moment you kind of feel comfortable because you can
Yeah.
sort of think, well, I think I can do this, or
Yeah.
at least I'm going to give it a good go,
Yeah.
because all through playing for Lowerhouse, um, I do doubt myself every season about whether I can, whether I'm still good enough to play in this team because they're great, they're
Uh-huh.
full of quality cricketers, and I don't want to be a hindrance to that, and I don't think I am at the minute, but there we go.
I've got to say, I mean, anybody who's taken as many catches, as many stumpers as you, I don't give a damn what the batting average is, to be frank, because that's not a hindrance. Because the one thing you need more than anything is that person behind the stumps to be absolutely on it. You've got to be awake all the
Yeah,
time, haven't you? You've got to be. You don't. We look at the Ashes over the winter, the amount of times that Jamie Smith got grief. Never mind the rest of
yeah,
the England team getting grief. And then we always talk about Ben Foakes. Now Ben Foakes is a freak, we know, because he's not only one of the best glovemen in the world, but actually he's a bloody good batter as well. And that
yeah, of
getting
course.
but what we really want is that guy who can not miss that stumping off that seamer, not miss that stumping off
Yeah,
that leg in particular. And that's from your numbers, you can tell that's where you've excelled because there's no one else with more than 100 stumpings in that big long list, is there?
no, not quite. No, no, there isn't.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think amateur cricket's probably slightly different as well to that kind of professional game. I
Yeah,
think
true.
because I think often you'll top load your batting with your best batters, and you've got a professional and so on. So admittedly, my batting role's changed over the years, but it's less about it's sort of less about my batting now. It's more about how can I best contribute as a wicketkeeper uh, and give the team sort of what they need in that way.
But you have got a Lancashire League ton. You've got 950s, and you're used to open.
Yeah,
This is not somebody who's batting down the order who hasn't got a clue. This is somebody who knows what they're doing.
yeah. I mean, yes, I think that's fair. It's very fair. I think my style of batting is probably um, doesn't quite fit with how we play at Lowerhouse. I'm a bit more, um, or at least try and bat for a very, very long time and
Yeah.
accumulate. And when you've got players like Ben Heap and Johnny Whitehead, Francois, Tom Walker, Henry Cotton, all at the top of the order, you don't really need me in there. So I, I sort of found my I've sort of found my role as I've gone on, and to try and contribute and help later down the order if we're in a tricky position or we're trying to get close to a target or think about it in that way. But yeah, I guess I'm not your traditional number 11 that can't really bat. I can still do a bit, and if I'm needed, I'm more than happy to help.
And the Lancashire League's one of those leagues where we love it because 1 week you could score 250, 300. The week after you are 42 for 6, and you do need your number 11 who can bat to step up and go in a bit further up, isn't it? That's the beauty of the Lancashire League. Being able to do that, definitely, though, means that you're a double threat, inverted commas. And we always talk now these days about everybody's got to have at least 2 parts to their armoury. You've got it. You're a wicketkeeper and you are a batter at the end of the day, but you're a wicketkeeper that bats now rather than a batter that wicket keeps.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. I think everybody would say that actually. Yeah, definitely. I think but my main focus has always been wicket keeping. I still love it. I still try and get better every year, and as I'm getting older, I'm still trying to find ways to make sure that I'm as good as I can be.
You say you're getting older. You're 30. You're 32 now.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, you're still a young man compared to me. Who have you looked at over the last 15 years or 20 years of keeping? Who have you looked at in the professional ranks and gone, yeah, I really rate that one. That's the one I enjoy watching.
Yeah. So, I mean, so in the last 15 years, obviously, I've looked at Ben Fawkes and Matt Pryor, people like that. Ben Fawkes especially, just because of his sort of natural glove work. But I was a big fan of James Foster.
Yes,
Essex.
agreed.
He was magnificent. Really unlucky not to play more, not to play more international cricket. Because watching him sort of stand up to medium pace fast bowlers was amazing. Taking nicks off full tossers and that kind of thing was really great.
And he was playing on a proper hard track when he was doing that.
Yeah. So it makes it really interesting to watch that. But I'd say it's probably similar to my music choices. It's a little bit further back that I always look to, and my favourite wicketkeeper has always been Jack Russell.
Oh, 100%.
Ever since I was 11.
Yeah,
I can remember watching I think it was probably 2004 when the cup finals used to be on like Channel 4 and stuff. And I can remember him taking a leg side, wasn't even a stumping, just a leg side take, stood up for Gloucester, one-handed on the half volley, just scooping it up, putting it in his hand, throwing it to the fielder, and then walking back to the other side of the wicket.
Nonchalant.
Thinking, here we go. This is someone who's proper.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. He was Mr. Nonchalant. There's no two ways about it. And it's interesting that the people you've mentioned there, working up my way back from folks to Matt Pryor, Foster, and all the way to Jack, they all had one thing in common. They made it look easy. And
Yeah,
they make it look really easy, these guys, don't they? Whereas you look at someone like Jamie Smith. I'm a massive Jamie Smith fan as a batter,
mm,
but I see someone as a wicket keeper who doesn't make it look easy.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
the way I look at it is he's in the game because you notice because he's there. Whereas actually a really good wicket keeper, you don't notice them because they just do
yeah,
it, get on with it, do it, and that's where Jack hit. That's where Jack was, wasn't it?
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, still watch back on YouTube some of his wicket keeping, some of the master classes that he's done,
Yeah.
and I think the sort of I think the power came in his simplicity.
Hmm.
How it didn't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
It was as simple as catching a ball, making sure his head and hands are in line,
Hmm.
and that was enough for him. And I honestly don't think there was that many better. I didn't see Alan Knott or Bob Taylor, who were his idols.
Yeah.
Um, but the the way he could just focus in on his wicket keeping
Hmm.
and, as you say, go unnoticed, but still take unbelievable catches and stumpings.
Yeah.
Especially in the one day game when, he was stood up to the stumps a lot, no helmet, those massive glasses,
Yes.
gloves that he kept patching up. It
Yeah.
was someone that you would expect to be noticed all the time just because of his eccentricities, but
Yeah.
wasn't just because of how good he was, I think.
Yeah. And I describe that role almost like a bloody good football referee.
Yeah,
You
that's
just
right.
don't
Yeah.
you don't notice them because they've done the job so calmly, so nicely. The game's just flowed. You've got home after 90 minutes and gone, oh, who's the referee? Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
great. The one difference referees have to wicket keepers, though, of course, is you can take a screamer. You can take a
Yeah, of
stump
course.
in that is completely and utterly, outrageous. And then you are noticed. There's no two ways about it. How do you feel when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I, it might not come across because I'm probably chattier on this kind of platform than I am usually. Um, I'm not really that comfortable being in like the limelight of stuff. I really don't like it. And I know we run a podcast at Lowerhouse, that
Yeah.
we've run for quite a few years. Um, but I don't really like talking about myself or that kind of thing. But it's I think you do get I, I sort of really appreciate in those moments when you
Yeah.
do take that one-handed catch or a leg side stumping or just
Hmm.
a stumping in a really tense moment. The the work that I do put in a lot of work on during the week to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm up to speed, and I'm very appreciative of the people that help me. At the minute,
Hmm.
Chris Blezard, who's just gone past 17,000 runs, is pretty much has been my like wicket keeping coach for the past, I don't know, 5 years,
Forever.
maybe a bit longer. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's not a wicket keeper, but is extremely knowledgeable and has helped me
Hmm.
a lot. Um, just really appreciative of those, trying to take the time to be able to do that and help me do some of those things. That's
Absolutely. I
always a
mean,
great feeling, I think.
the success you've had, I've got to ask, I don't know the answer to that. Going back in the day, was there any chance of going further with the game? Because, clearly to be
No,
as good as you are behind the stumps of the Lancashire League, the question's always going to be asked, was this guy on the pathway, as it's called now? Was there sort of that sort of thing? Was there a chance for you?
so I mean, I don't think I don't think there was a chance at all. I was about 13 when I realised I didn't want to be a cricketer.
Right.
It was so, but I was on the pathway until I was 19.
Yeah.
The wicket keeper in front of me was Alex Davis, who
Uh-huh.
was probably the best junior player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Um, when he played at Darwin, and we would play, against them in Lancashire Junior League and stuff.
Yeah.
He would win games on his own.
Uh-huh.
We'd get 260, and they'd need 50 off the last pair, and he'd get them on his own, and he'd wicket keep. He'd stand up all the time,
Yeah.
and it was unbelievable. And I was I was nowhere near. I was nowhere near him. He was a great wicketkeeper and continues to be now. You know, at Warwickshire.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't really it wasn't really an option for me.
Hmm.
I didn't really fit into the county setup that well.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I enjoyed. It wasn't down to the people that were there. It was me that was the issue, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it wasn't a. I've always been really happy playing for Lowerhouse. That's the thing.
Nothing
And
wrong with that.
it's no, and even sort of representative cricket, um, I I really struggle with, you know, or like friendly cricket, or
Yeah.
I really struggle playing. I really struggle to get motivated for it. I
Uh-huh.
mean, we played a friendly T20 last Friday, and
Yeah.
it was cold. Kept wicket in a
Very.
hoodie,
Yeah.
and you know, I just think I don't want to lose, but at the same time, I find it really difficult.
Yeah.
So playing for Lowerhouse is all in cricket terms is the only thing I've only ever really wanted,
Not
and
quite, because you've also played for the MCC.
I have played for the MCC. Yeah, that's
So
true.
come on now. I think you've just put up a really good argument there for Mr. Lowerhouse. This is what I do. I, I'm with you. Friendlies. Oh my word. Why bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've gone and played friendly cricket for the MCC. What brought you to that sort of conclusion to do that?
Um, so I'll caveat that with it. I don't anymore.
Okay.
That's the thing. I really struggle.
Yeah.
But I played the Lancashire. They played a game against the Lancashire under 21s,
Hmm.
and I think I was probably 22, 23 at the time.
Yeah.
And Paul Carroll, who used to play at Accrington,
Hmm.
they were short of players. So they asked if they needed a wicket keeper. So they asked if I could come along and play, and I did.
Yeah.
And and I like Paul. He's a nice chap,
Hmm.
and I actually made pretty good friends with a guy there called Russell Davis who used to play for Rishton and Norden. I think he was a fantastic cricketer. He was a
Hmm.
barrister, and he said that I should sign up and play, and I did, and I did that for a few years
Yeah.
um, whilst I was at university,
Uh-huh.
that second part of the university,
Hmm.
um, when I didn't have exams or anything like that
Yeah.
at that point, so it meant I had a bit more free time to
Sure.
do that kind of thing. So yeah, I've played a few of that. I met some really great people,
Hmm.
really funny, really funny. But it kind of got to a position a couple of years ago where I never went to Lords. I, as I've said, I wasn't really that motivated for playing. I was probably only going for the tees, and that wasn't fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
So eventually I just said it's I think
Not for
it's
me.
I think it's not quite for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I got to. I actually did okay. I actually did okay in some games for the NCCA. I got a few runs,
And
but
and then you
you
hung
know,
up the red and yellow gloves, basically.
I did. Yeah, I mean, I still wear the jumpers because they're really warm. But yeah, I've not quite gone to play again for those.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what you've done over the years with more importantly, the people that you've done it for. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Simple question, yes or no? Seamer or spinner? Who would you rather be keeping to?
I I really like keeping to spin. I'm probably a little bit better at keeping to pace bowlers, but I like keeping to spin. I like keeping to my brother. He bowls off spin. He's
Yeah.
very, very good bowler.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'd say spin.
Okay, then. So let's talk seamers. Who's the best seamer that you've had to keep wicket to?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this week. Not, I don't really know why. So from like a professional standpoint, um, I'd say there's been two. So one I still play with, Francois Hasbrook. So
Yeah.
he came to Lowerhouse in 2011, played until 2013, and now continues to play as an amateur. But in those seasons when he was pro, he was so accurate, got incredible bounce
Hmm.
because of his height. Um, his skill with the ball was unbelievable. stood up to him a few times and so on. But he could bowl quick when he needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And that really sort of opened my eyes to like standing back, and because he was on the money every time, and he'd nick people off, and I'd be able to get a few catches and so on. He was great. And the other one from a professional standpoint was Corbus Pienaar. He would, I think in that season, so the 2014 season, I think I got over 50 victims, I think, and 60% of them were nicks caught behind from him.
Wow.
He just had an incredible ability to nick people off and bowl out the tail. Sometimes when pros come into the league, they can get the top order out, but they do bowling out the lower batters because they can't get anywhere near them. Corbus never had that problem. He would just bowl. He would just bowl them out, and that was that. It was unbelievable to wicket keep to. Still one of my friends now that I speak to. Brother goes to visit him. But yeah, no, I'd say those two. From an amateur standpoint, Joe Hawke, magnificent. When I first kept him, I was stood back, a bit more stood up now. But when he gets on a run, and I can just sort of stand there and try and catch them, it's a really, really
sort of
really
Stuart
good.
Broad like you can see he's pumping more all of a sudden.
Yeah, definitely. When he gets into a rhythm and he may be taking a couple of wickets, he will just keep going and he'll end up taking 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, really excellent. And we've got Tom Walker now as well.
I was going to say, bring it all the way to today. What about this Mr. Tom Walker? He looks a bit quick.
Yeah, Tom. He is very quick. Yeah, he is quick. Bowls with good pace and moves the ball and hurries batsmen. We played Todd at the weekend, and it was probably the first time this year that we played on a pitch that gave him a little bit more, bounce, a bit more carry. So when Tom gets it right or the pitch is right, it's very, very dangerous, and again great to keep to. Really test me out. As I said, I'm getting a little bit older. I don't move quite as well as I used to, but it tests me out a bit, and I like it. It's good. Yeah.
Well, I think the irony there is you're getting a bit older and you don't move as quick, but actually, when the ball's coming a bit truer off that harder surface, which Tom Walker will want, you know where it's going to go as well, don't you? So it's a bit more consistent. It works both ways. What about the spinners? Come on, then. You love standing up to spin. You can clearly tell that you love your spin keeping because the amount of bloody stumpings you've got are ridiculous. Who is that number one spinner that you stood up to? Now, if it's not Mr. Daniel Salpietro, we might as well call it now, hadn't we, really?
Yeah. I think my consecutive run will probably end if I don't say that. I mean, so there's the two spinners are Pat, my brother, who I'm not quite sure how many wickets he's got now, but he'll be pushing 400, I think, something like that. Fantastic, brilliant bowler, turn, off spin, and so lots of variety as well. That he changes his pace, changes how much he turns the ball over around the wicket. So he's always challenging the batters. And he's a great bowler, really good to keep to. I think he probably has wanted a better wicketkeeper for the past 15 years than me, to take some of his chances. I have a bit of a blind spot when it just goes through the gate and over the top of the stumps. I have a bit of an issue where they tend to go for 4 byes. And then Dan has been brilliant. He's been so great these past couple of years, into his 3rd year now. Brilliant again. Tries to get a wicket with every ball and taking some really important wickets. And he's a great bowler. Great bowler. The other guy we've had was Stephen Parry. I probably didn't get that many victims from Paz, but the control and accuracy that he had was brilliant, and brilliant to wicket keep to as well. Just to see somebody at at that level who's played international cricket, ball was really great, really
And
good.
correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the Lancashire coaches now, as is Mr. Daniel Salpietro. So not a bad way
Yeah,
to be keeping to those guys, is it?
no, not at all. I think Paz has become head coach of Essex
Oh, was
women's
he?
team. Yeah, I think so.
I know he was
Um,
definitely Lancashire's women's head coach, wasn't he,
yeah,
for a while?
definitely. Yeah, that's
Mm.
definitely right.
Hmm.
I think that might have been a this season
Okay.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, fantastic. And you get great insight from Dan. He's
Yeah.
brilliant, really brilliant to speak to, and as has really helped me over the past 3 years.
Hmm.
Um, just sort of generally, both in my wicket keeping, giving me a little bit more confidence, but
Yeah.
just generally as a person, he's been great. Really,
Yeah.
really great. Really
Now,
pleased that he's
I've got
involved
to
in.
say, you've undersold your brother. 400 plus wickets.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm really
In
sorry.
in the play cricket era, it's 534,
Ah,
including
okay.
a record last year of 69 wickets in total. Now
Ah,
that'll be
wow.
all competitions, obviously, but
Yeah, sure.
he ain't done bad either, has he? And do you find yourself almost, I don't know, competing with him to a certain extent, that he wants to get as many wickets as he possibly can, but you want to take as many catches and stumpings?
I mean, I think I'm actually secondary to that because actually think I inhibit him getting more wickets.
Which
Um,
I'm not going to get involved in that one.
no, but no, I don't think so. I mean, if I if if I can catch them and stump them, then I'm contributing to him, doing well. I I didn't realize he'd taken that many wickets. That's really terrible.
Well,
But he's a
he's
great
taken that
bowler.
many,
He's a
and
great
you've been on the pitch for almost all, well, for all of them probably.
for a, uh, for quite a few of them. Yeah, yeah, I have, I think. Yeah.
Which all adds
Um,
up.
yeah.
Come on then, let's get down to the brass tacks of it. As a keeper, you don't mind being anonymous. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Um, but leg side stumping versus flying catch to Tom Walker, which do you choose?
Who's the leg side stumping off? uh, um, I'd honestly say that I think the purist in me would say the leg side stumping.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's extremely skillful to be able to get
Hmm.
everything right, to be able to
Yeah.
do that. I
Yeah.
know that like professional keepers will be able to do it more frequently than I can do it.
Yeah, but
But
they
when it
practice
does,
and do it 200,000 times a day as well, remember.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
difference.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you watch my wiki keep, there's a few more differences actually. But it's yeah, it's I would say leg side stumping. Yeah, definitely. I think it's the mark of everything going right in your wicket keeping day.
Yeah.
That if you can
Yeah,
do that.
totally agree. Totally agree. And come on then, you've mentioned your first ever catch for
Mm,
playing for a club with Burnley, which I won't repeat in the
yeah.
name. You can remember your first catch, on your first 11 games, but over the
Mm,
years you've taken some important ones as well. Yeah, is there any wicket that
yeah,
you've
I think
taken
so.
where you've gone, that's the one, maybe a game changer, or one to win a Worsley Trophy, or is the one that
Yeah,
you go,
sure. Uh, it's a really great question. Um, and I think there's a few answers. There's a few answers to it.
yeah.
Um, I honestly think the best catch I've taken was I think it was just a normal league game off, um, off off Toxie Hussain who plays for Lowerhouse.
Hmm.
Um, and we were playing at Crompton, and the wicket was a little bit dodgy. I think there'd been a bit of rain about and stuff. So I stood up, normal full length delivery, and it's just hit a wet patch or I don't know, a dry patch. It could have been, I
Yeah.
guess. And it's just like like spit, and the batter's gloved it, and it's over my head, but I've managed to catch it. One big one-hand catch, caught that. I'd say that was sort of probably the best catch I've taken. In that same game, I got concussed. Got hit in my head, and my brother had to drive me home because we were doing the team talk, and he said that it sort of didn't look like you were there. So he had to drive me home. And I'd say one of the most important catches was in the 2018 Worsley Cup final. I took a diving one-handed left hand side take off Mark Cosgrove. Joe McCluskey had a full face of the bat down the leg side. Managed to grab that full length dive. Got it, and it's on camera. Someone took a.
It's there forever.
It, so so really pleased with that one. And this is becoming quite a long answer. But actually, last year in the we were playing Walsden. We probably got 200 and odd. Their pro was in. Dan was bowling. Getting quite tight. Would have taken a little bit for their pro to do it, but it was still doable.
Yeah.
And I took a half volley stumping off Dan to get the pro out, playing like a hit across the line. That was just a genuinely good piece of wicket keeping, actually.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to say that. It was, and that was, that was really good. I'm sure there might be a few more that other people remember, but
I'm sure your brother's hoping there was a mention somewhere down the lines, but he didn't get
it. No, not quite. I think he's have to be straightforward to catch them. Anything complicated tends to hit me in my chest.
Absolutely. What about the honours that you've got over the years? I mean, you've been around the club long enough now to have won the Lancashire League a number of times. You've won the Worsley Cup a number of times. Which of those honours over the years is the one that sticks in your memory and go, that was the one? And I've got an idea which it might be, but which one was it for you?
So I think the first league win, 2011, that I played in was amazing, mainly because it was so unexpected. We'd played the year before, we'd finished about 10th. Francois had come in. I don't really think we were expecting to win the league, but we've just put a run together. We had some great players, and a large proportion of those players are still playing now. Probably seven of those players are still in and around the team. But I'd say that win, it was unexpected. We were very, very young. I was 17, along with everybody else who was 17 and 18, and 16 in Johnny Whitehead's case. And it was majestic. It was great, fantastic to be able to do that. And some great games. There was a game that we played against Rami. Rami were the defending champions, and we beat them at home. My brother hit the winning runs in like the last couple of overs. There's a great picture on the Lancashire League website of it, and that was fantastic. The 2018 Cup final against Burnley that we won was unbelievable. Now the problem is I can't describe any of that. I can describe our bowling innings. Right. However, I didn't watch any of our batting innings. I was too nervous. I was led in the changing rooms with a tennis ball that I threw up and down for 3 hours, whilst Toxie was watching through the window, and he'd go things like, "That's a 1 for Charlie Cotton. That's 2, Cosy. Oh, no, 1." And we'd be like, "Christ, Tox, just tell us if it's going to be if everything." And
meantime, you're doing Steve McQueen with the tennis ball, basically, just
very much so. Yeah, absolutely. I think I watched the last over. I mean, look. To be honest with you, it's great. Being involved in any of those is great. The the cup final we won against Todmorden, where Charlie Gansler had a brilliant innings to get us over the line when we were pretty much out of it. Was
that 2024?
Was fantastic. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And the scenes on video for that one are brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really great. There's a video of Charlie hitting the winning runs, and his mum running onto the pitch.
Yeah.
Which still makes me like quite emotional watching that. Actually, it's really great. But and the league win last year, not to take away the 2014 or the 2012 double or anything like that, but last year's win was like so joyful in how we played cricket, and the
dominant,
and the team that we had, extremely dominant. I'd be very surprised if the points gap is something like that for a long time.
Yeah.
But just how we did it and how we played was really brilliant to be a part of that.
And I think last year in particular, that was one of those years where you got going, you got started, the run started, and it just didn't stop. And it was just one of those years that you literally, I suppose the only disappointment from last year was that you didn't win any other trophies on the back of it.
I mean, we got pretty close.
Exactly. But that's the frustration, isn't it, when you have a year as dominant as that? Would I be right in saying, though, that you would fancy another run at the Lancashire Cup? And we're talking a week after being bummed out at Settle. But that's one that you must really fancy going further in.
How diplomatic can I be on this?
Don't need to be.
I really, really don't like playing in the Lancashire Cup.
You'd prefer to play in the National Club Championship, wouldn't you?
No. No. I think it comes from a position of, when I first started in the first team, well, the Lancashire League didn't really enter the Lancashire Cup. And when we did, we could only get to the second round because it was played on a Sunday and we couldn't go through. So we kind of thought it was we can't really do anything in this. And I don't like losing games of cricket, but equally at the same time, I'm a little bit more of a local person. I quite like the Lancashire League and the history of that, and the different teams that we play against, and obviously some of the new teams that we play since it expanded. I'd say that's my primary focus. If we next year, if we do well in the Lancs Cup, I'm not gonna say I'm not playing, or
absolutely
I'm not interested. But I think that winning the league or the Worsley Cup or the T20 in the Lancs League is just a little rung above for me. But everybody's different, I think a few other people in the team would probably really like to have a proper go at that Lancashire Cup competition and so on. But it's a little bit big for me, probably.
Okay, then come on, coming to the end of this conversation, I'm going to ask you two quite difficult questions, and I don't want any creosote on your arse whatsoever. You are not allowed to sit on the fence.
It's very difficult.
Okay.
Listen to the house cast.
Yes. Who is the best player that you have played with at Lowerhouse Cricket Club over those years?
Amateur or professional?
Either or.
Either or. I'll split them in half.
Go
on. The best professional I played with is Francois. Dan is very close. Dan is very close to
You've just been dropped, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Dan is very close. It would be a toss-up between them for that. Francois changed the mentality of the club when he first joined, and Dan has done something very similar, albeit with a more experienced group of players.
Hmm.
Um, the the best amateur is well, the best amateur batter is Chris Blezard, without a doubt. I
Uh-huh.
actually think he's the best amateur batter the league has seen.
Right.
He and the reason I say that is he's not quite on top of the run list yet. He's
Hmm.
second. As I said earlier, he's gone past 17,000 runs.
Yeah.
Um, but he batted at 3 and 4 earlier in his career. And then around 2009, 2010, he actually changed completely and batted at
Hmm.
7 and
Yeah.
8 and 6 and so on. And actually changed how he played. And I think that's a really hard thing to do for
It is.
amateur cricketers and still be effective and still
Hmm.
go in and win games. I can remember games in the 2011 season when we won the league where we would be chasing maybe 150. We were 110 for 5 or 6,
Yeah.
and teams would think, right, here we go, we've got him, and then Blez would walk out, and they just couldn't get you just couldn't get him out because
Yeah.
he
You'd
was
go,
a
oh, we
great
forgot
player.
he had to come. You'd forget. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I can remember. I think I can remember playing against Haslingden, and that's exactly what happened. We weren't chasing a massive score, and they thought
Hmm.
we were close. They thought they were going to win, and Blez
Yeah.
walked out and won the game. Um, he's the best. He's the best batter by far. He's incredible, and still is
Yeah.
now. Still contributes now. Still a great player. And I'm extremely appreciative of all the work that he does
Hmm.
on my wicket keeping with me. He doesn't have to do it, and yet he does.
Absolutely.
Um, I'd I'd say the best bowler's my brother. He's been
Oh.
outstanding for a very very long time.
Yeah.
Um,
Can't disagree with
you
that.
know,
Can't
I
disagree
think
with
he would
that.
say that Jack McGregor's the best wicket keeper.
I'm not getting involved in that one. I
No,
have one. I have a final question though, and this is a
no problem.
dreamland question for you. Then, so your brother might be the best bowler, but that's who you played with, or you played against. If you could pick one bowler to keep for that you've never kept for before, and I'm talking professionals, amateurs, anyone, is there someone out there that you can go, God, I just wish I could stand behind the stumps to that bowler sometime?
Yeah, it's definitely um, Shane Warne. Now he obviously proed for Accrington in the Lancashire League.
Yeah.
Um, I can remember watching the 2005 Ashes and just being sort of mesmerised
Hmm.
by unbelievable skill. And obviously he's obviously a far better cricketer than I ever can be. But just being able to keep to him bowling some of those leg spinners, all the variations, I think would have made me a better wicket keeper.
That's
However,
fair.
I think it would have been fantastic, and just his kind of aura. Right? I mean,
Hmm.
it is. I imagine he was the kind of character that if you walked into a room, people would sort of like go and stand up and think that's Shane
Yeah.
Warne, and you don't get that very often. So I'd say him.
And obviously, I couldn't say this without being very careful how I put it. Warney had to come above that fella from down the road at Burnley as well, didn't
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, I can still remember the. Yeah, I think
it?
so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yes. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
Hugh and I have got a long-standing wish that Mr. Jimmy Anderson at some point pops up at Burnley and just plays a game. But you wouldn't give a damn. You'd still rather keep to Shane Warne.
Yeah, I think I would. Right? Yeah, I think I
I,
would.
I think he'd be more of a challenge, Shane Warne, than Jimmy Anderson all day long.
Yeah, probably, possibly. I mean, definitely for me, wicket keeping. I think. Yeah, definitely. I think I'd just be stood kind of static whilst balls hit me, and I'll try and get in the way of them. Um,
Hey,
because I
it
think
doesn't
it'd
matter.
be
Doesn't
eternal.
matter how you stop it.
No, it'd be interesting considering he'd have like Ian Healy and Adam Gilchrist, and then if I rocked up with my bag to say I'm doing it today. I don't think he'd be that pleased. I don't
Hey,
think.
I don't think Shane would worry about the keeper half the time because he'd just be trying to knock the
No.
stumps over, wouldn't he, to say the least?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been great chatting, Joe. All things keeping and all things Lowerhouse records that you've broken left, right, and centre. Yeah, you're still a young man, mate. You know, you've still got a good few years in those legs yet. I'm sure the back feels a bit different than it did 15 years ago. The legs feel a bit different. The hands and the arms all feel a bit, especially when it's cold.
Yeah.
But you've still got a good few years there, mate. You can just keep enjoying it, can't you?
I hope so. Yeah, I do. I hope so. I still really enjoy it. There's been some really testing moments, and
Yeah.
um, you know, people that have helped me. I mean, one of my wicket keeping coach, who's still in touch with John Briley, uh,
Hmm.
helped me a few years ago when I was really struggling. And some of the work that he did meant that I could carry on and
Yeah.
keep enjoying it. So yeah, I hope so. But for me, it's about the team, and yeah, the kind of personal records are great. I didn't quite know that I'd got to 350 games until someone showed me on the phone and said this is happening today.
Yeah.
Um, but if I can keep competing to win
Yeah.
leagues and World Cups and stuff, then I'll be happy with that. I think if I don't take another catch again, that'll be all right.
I'm sure you will, without a doubt. Yeah. And the most important thing, of course, is that coming up this weekend, the weather looks better. Yeah, you
Yeah, a
might
little bit warmer.
actually be able to wear 1 or 2 layers instead of 6 or 7.
Yeah,
And wicket keeping becomes so much, or as my colleague Hugh always likes to say, keepers are always the warmest with their big gloves and their pads and everything
yeah,
anyway. So, yeah, at least
yeah.
you've
You
got
can still
that
warm
coming
up.
and you can start to enjoy, hopefully, some decent tracks for Tom to be banging it in and
Yeah, hope so.
some more successful Lower House during the season.
Yeah, hope so. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed it. It's great.
No,
Thank you.
absolute pleasure, Joe. Thanks a lot, mate.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Cheers.